morning, everyone, and warmly welcome to this webinar. I will share my screen. I hope that you can see it in the correct mode. My name is Yngvesson, and I will moderate this session on technology for one welfare. But first, I will give you just a very brief introduction to the Pathways project and to our two speakers. So Pathways is a project financed by the European Union, and it's around pathways for transition to sustainability in livestock husbandry and food systems. And it is a 5-year project, and it's coordinated by the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences. And we have 29 partners. And our overarching aim is to inform policy, research, and business strategies in support of a transition to more sustainable livestock production and consumption. And we started in 2021. And our objectives are, firstly, to develop innovative, holistic sustainability assessment methodologies to enable livestock systems assessment from farm to fork. And here you can already sort of see that technology is a really important component of this project. Our second aim is to identify and evaluate innovations within livestock systems through practice hubs, which in this project are groups of farmers all over Europe. And these farmer groups are selected because they are innovative in some way. And it may be because they're using some innovative technology or even inventing technological solutions themselves. And we also work very closely with stakeholders, and the whole project is around stakeholder engagement. Our third aim is to co-design scenarios and associated transition pathways with multi-actors for a sustainable European livestock sector. And we want to support a timely, effective transition to sustainable livestock systems in Europe. And we share this aim or objective, of course, with many other projects around sustainability. In Pathways, we have 3 core concepts, and one is one welfare, and I will soon go into exactly what one welfare means. There's also a core concept around trade-offs, and this has to do with the sustainability assessments. I'm sure most of you are familiar with life cycle assessments, for example. And there's always a trade-off you need to do because sometimes goals within sustainability are conflicting, and it's really important to analyze those trade-offs and try to minimize them to reach the maximum sustainability that you can. And our third core concept is leverage points, and this has to do with how can you change the behavior of consumers, for example, or of farmers or policymakers. What is it that makes us as people change our behavior? And those two concepts, 2 and 3, the trade-offs and the leverage points, they will be handled in other webinars. But today we will just work on the first core concept, which is one welfare. And one welfare is sort of a research framework overarching both animal welfare, which is of course a really important topic in livestock production, human well-being, and environmental protection or conservation. And I will read that the concept of one welfare recognizes the interconnections between animal welfare, human well-being, and the environment. Integrating this concept into existing projects could foster interdisciplinary collaboration to improve human and animal welfare internationally. And this was formulated even earlier than Rebecca Penillo's paper in 2016, but it's being used more and more consistently in cross-disciplinary research and also development of practices within farming, for example. And it's a sister framework to One Health, which I'm sure you are familiar with. And I would also like to highlight that all currently used animal welfare definitions include animal health. So that is why I, for example, will only use animal welfare, but I do include animal health into that definition. And the most of the definitions include physiology, animal physiology, that is, animal behavior, the physical environment which we provide the animals with, and some of the welfare definitions also include animal production. And they don't then mean that good production means good animal welfare, but deviations in production are a very important indicator of problems with the animal welfare. So with that very brief introduction to the topic of One Welfare, I will introduce our first speaker who will demonstrate to us, or both speakers will demonstrate to us how technology is really relevant to this core concept. And I will introduce both of them first, and then we'll listen to the first one. And the first speaker is Oleksiy Guzhva, and I forgot to put your name there, Alex. I'm really sorry about that.
That's fine.
But you did your PhD at this university, SLU, Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences, and you worked with computer vision algorithms as a tool for analyzing the behavior of dairy cattle. Nowadays, you work as a senior researcher at the Department of Biosystems and Technology, and you work with a variety of species. And you're interested in innovations and new technological solutions for agriculture, and that includes sensor technology, computer vision, IoT and digitalized agriculture, smart buildings, and I think many more things. And we're really eager to listen to you in just a second. But I first want to introduce our second speaker, which is Sun Dengsheng, and I'm sure you will also help us and pronounce your name. Actually, all three of us have complicated names, so it's good if we say them ourselves as well, I think. You did your PhD at Wageningen University on animal welfare and precision livestock farming tools, and you're now doing a postdoc at the SLU within another EU-financed project, which is under the Horizon Research Framework Step Up, using life cycle evaluations of current European livestock systems in terms of environmental impact and animal welfare. And you've been working with different livestock species, covering different topics, for example, animal nutrition, physiology, animal housing and environment, animal health and welfare. So you recognize the welfare definitions that I mentioned in the introduction. And your current interests are to explore the role and alternatives of intensive livestock farming in the agriculture cycle and the role of animal welfare in current and intensive livestock systems. We are really curious to hear both of your talks. And during this webinar today, now I'm talking to all of you who are participating. Please ask a lot of questions. There's a Q&A function that you find at the bottom of your screen. So in there, please write if your question is for Sun or for Alex. And there will also be an option to ask your questions live after the two talks. So after we have listened to both of the talks, we will have a common discussion. And I also wanted to draw your interest to a really interesting paper on artificial intelligence and animal welfare, where you also can see the different aspects that are included in animal welfare and are also highly relevant to human well-being and technology. With those words, I will stop sharing my screen and I will give the floor to Alex.
Yes, thank you, Jenny. Let's see if this thing works as intended.
I think maybe if you could speak a little bit closer to the microphone, I will increase my sound as well. Maybe it's just me.
Do you guys see the right screen?
Now it's the exact correct one. Perfect. Yes. I mute myself and hand over to you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. So today's very quick view on sustainable and responsible digitalization and AI development and integration in livestock production. I will just try to connect it as much as possible to the whole One Welfare and One Health umbrella. And I mean, everybody knows that the current situation with the sustainability goals and a lot of changes, both geopolitical, economical, etc., etc. There are no easy times to live. That's why we try to overcome all the present issues as quickly as we can, but in a inclusive and a respectful way. And to me, working with innovation for the past years, both as a researcher and a consultant, it's very important that the things we do for, with animals are carried out in a way that really allows us a good way forward when we are not only addressing specific things related to animal welfare, animal health, production environment, but that we also plan for future, that the developments we're carrying out are done in a responsible way. And what I mean, wait, look at the dairy sector, for example, because majority of the technology that we see when you address precision livestock farming, it is first coming to the dairy sector and then kind of gets transcended to all the other species. But in a way, with current food production, different standards in the society, different interests, we have this overarching in artificial intelligence, digitalisation, everything should be steered by big data, while we supposedly think about the future generation and the use of electricity or all the other resources. And it gets in a very interesting mix, sometimes more complicated that I would have asked for. And we see, I mean, again, it's just brief, nothing new. We know that across different continents, people consume different sources of animal protein, and it might shift depending on the resources availability. What is important here in the concept of welfare, more and more what we see in media, we have discussions, papers, and the consumer is starting to ask sort of maybe right questions about, is animal life is really worth living? How does the current production environment looks? And this kind of gets interconnected with all the previous discussions on sustainability. So the trends we see, there is increased interest, while sometimes that could also be a negative thing, because with increased interest, we're not necessarily guaranteeing the level of knowledge suitable to carry out these discussions or the things that we really want to connect. That's why we need new ways to communicate and new interdisciplinary projects. And then another, aside from the pure production and the food stuff, we also see a lot of increasing discussions within the luxury sector, so to say. So animal welfare in fashion. There are several large meetings in Brussels. A lot of brands are kind of reevaluating the strategy if the products coming from animal production are produced in a sustainable way, if we can have the transparent way to monitor the key indicators of animal welfare and make it transparent, good, measurable, which kind of leads to another conundrum. As a researcher, if we think that precision livestock farming for production environment, different species, it is this whole turnover of big data. We monitor parameters related directly to the production environment. But as you said, Jenny, and as many of us know, the good production environment or high numbers of, say, milk yield or growth of the changes to body weight, they're far from being the indicative, something that shows, oh, well, the cows that produce well, they feel well, or the welfare standard is high. It doesn't necessarily mean that vice versa, but we need to be very careful with definitions. And when it comes to the technology, especially the precision livestock farming, when we bring different fields around, what I usually say, it's also the main difference people within these and adjacent research fields need to realize that we need to distinguish between things like automated behavior monitoring, the use of sensor for studying animal behavior, welfare, the animal-centered environments, so to say. This is good, and this allows a broad range of basic research questions to be discussed, to be addressed, new tools to be developed, but it stops there. You can't draw conclusions about things being exactly measured on a farm level. So all the data-driven decision support, that part starts when you start transition from this ground information that you hopefully corrected in the right, compiled in a right way using different sensors. Then when you start transitioning to any kind of decisions or advisory part of digital technology, this is where precision-wise farming starts. And you need to really balance out where you focus purely on finding the new indicators of positive farm animal welfare, negative, everything in between, and then how to make it comprehensible for farmers, farm advisors, policymakers. So this is the first crucial thing that we need to discuss more often, the definition of what are the sensors actually used for, because you cannot optimize everything at the same time. This is the first point. And another thing that concerns me when I look as a veterinarian or working within the PLF, PLF thing, in order to find the definitions that are suitable for on-farm welfare assessments, or no matter how they are carried out, the thing that people still tend to forget that the living organisms are individually different. The dynamic nature of animals as beings gets reflected at a larger magnitude when we address these issues within the production environment. And there is no one value that fits all individuals. The important thing coming to the broader definition of welfare or health using the technology, that we need to come as close to individual animal as possible, and then to make a connection to people actually working or in a close relation or within the production chain, that how to transfer the soft values that drive people or their views on animal welfare or the suitability and sustainability of a production environment. That's also a huge domain. And without understanding that, we cannot fully address this equality or equity in the AI research. Because what I often see that there is a big gap still, that we see that the functional context aware AI models that everybody's talking about within the animal production or whatever, the end users or the people that have a lot of influential knowledge or understanding are not always the ones, unfortunately, that are driving the development forward. And our responsibility, if we ever to work with the umbrella of, the responsible digitalization, AI, whatever, is through dialogue and the common language that we need to develop together, involving the end users, involving the different categories of people that sometimes get excluded. Because in the end of the day, AI model, there is no black magic or, again, the solution that's suitable for, okay, this just gonna magically work. It's not gonna magically work, because people in the end of the day are the ones developing models and putting the personal bias into the functionality of whatever high-tech solution we're seeing on the market. So if we want them to work at the right time point for different kind of assessments, we need to provide the right context. And that could only be created through dialogue. So where and how do we start? Just briefly mention, there are different ways, and from research only, depending on what you are trying to achieve. It could be a data-driven, but again, if we talk about something suitable for, say, one welfare or welfare assessment in a broader context on a farm level, it needs to start from there. It's usually not a good idea that, the theory-driven new protocol for whatever mumbo jumbo you're using comes top down, and then the end users are not even agreeing that this is not how it works. Another important aspect, let's say we disregard this first two categories, even though they're important. what we need to think in terms of, responsibility, it's a digital 3R. It's not only reducing the number of animals we're using in our experiments, it's also reducing and optimizing the wild use of AI resources that come at a price, because everything has a cost. Training ChatGPT costs the world 700,000 liters of clean water. Every time you ask a question from ChatGPT, 1.5, 2 liters of water and up to 24 watts of energy just disappears. That how is that about the sustainability view? So just having the access to computational power doesn't necessarily does anything good to animals if the development is done wrong, or to the society at large. So when we talk responsibility and welfare of everybody involved in the developmental process, sometimes we also need to think about our own context, or where it came from. Is it a luxury issues? Are us in Scandinavia solving the things with access to all kinds of sensors or computers, while it's not going to scale down to a little farm in Africa where people don't even have the mobile phone connection at all times? Is it the same value? Should it be disregarded? Should we separate it? I don't really think so. So the whole discussion about the energy costs, about responsibility, about the what do we mean, the broader welfare of whom, welfare when, and also why, in a way that how does we what do we do to address this issue, and why do we address it like from AI perspective in an energy or resource efficient way? Because if you can't create the solution or outline the solution that will be working across different scenarios, I don't think you will be ever able to truly say that, well, no matter the cost, we came up with a solution that's super good for the farmers. But again, in the end of the day, the price of the solution shouldn't be the deciding factor, or the availability of infrastructure and everything that will compromise the ability of future generation to meet their own needs or care about animals at all, if we say that that's the ultimate goal for us. So the discussion of what is being developed and how is extremely crucial now when we do the transition and try to combine disciplines related to precision livestock farming, sensor-driven monitoring of animal welfare and health, and these soft values of what are we doing, why, and again, if animal is still in the center of all of the discussions or the developments, that's one of the most deciding factors that I would actually like to discuss more often. And I think with my 12.5 minutes or whatever, I will give the word to Sun, and we would rather spend it discussing more during the Q&A session. The floor is yours, Sun.
Thank you so much, Alex. There's no applause function in my Zoom version today, but this was really interesting. And we now look forward to Sun's presentation and then a really interesting discussion. Sun, go ahead.
Yes. Can everyone see my screen? Okay. My name is Sun. I'm a postdoc based at the SUU, working in the project Step Up, which we use some outcomes from pathways. Today, I'm going to talk about the past project I worked on from the PhD project on the automated health monitoring in veal calves. I would like to use this as a case to reflect of our concerns of on the development and the deployment of precision livestock farming in relation to animal health and welfare. With the title, Are We Solving the Problem? So a brief overview. I'm going to share what we have been doing with the developing the tools and the potential application for the veal fattening industry. But I will skip all the technical details, and I want to focus on the potential risks for this development and the deployment, which is what we didn't think enough. Then I would like to invite all of you to think and to discuss a potential future for the development, also the deployment of such technologies, which requires to rethink of the value hierarchy. So let's talk about the business. So I worked with veal calves. So the Dutch sector produce over 1 million veal calves per year. So it's not a small business. The first question we ask is, where do all these calves come from? And it's straightforward. It's the byproduct from the dairy industry, because the Dutch sector produce a lot of dairy products. For example, over 14 million tons of milk per year. With such high production and high consumption, the dairy cows need to keep giving birth. And as a result, a lot of newborn calves. We have half a male, half a female. So for the females, mostly will be kept as heifers and go later into the dairy industry. But for the males are what we call surplus cows, which are not needed for the dairy industry. So this is how the veal industry was created to make use of the surplus cows. So in the Netherlands, veal calves are typically transported from their source dairy farm to the veal fattening farm at the age 2 to 4 weeks of age, and they stay at the fattening farm till reaching slaughter weight, which is for the white veal calf around 25 weeks of age at around 225 kilogram of body weight. They stay either in small groups or large groups, depends on the housing system, both indoors for the small groups, 4 to 7 animals, for the large groups, 35 to 40. It is efficient, it's easy to manage, so it's good to use. But there are also disadvantages for such a housing system. And one big issue is the high disease occurrence, mainly the diarrhea and the lung diseases. And the problem is we can only see the calf when they show the clinical symptoms, which is already very late. So this leads to the high mortality rate and further the high use of antibiotics. So what I'm talking about is not the individual treatment, but also the batch treatment of the antibiotic use, because the medicine comes with the milk feeder, so the whole batch will have the antibiotics. So this is the problem we found. So what we think is it possible to identify the sick calf before they show the clinical symptoms, so we can give the individual treatment instead of giving the batch treatments, therefore to reduce the use of antibiotic use. So here the technology come as potential solutions. There are many sensors that have been developed in the past 10 to 15 years, and many for dairy cows and pigs. And so but not a lot on the veal cows for this purpose. So we were thinking maybe we can use this for our question. Here we use the definition of precision livestock farming from Daniel Berkman's as measuring variables on the animals, modeling this data to select information, and then using these models in real time for monitoring and control purposes. So it's real-time monitoring is the keyword. So with this in mind, we start to explore the potential of using technology for identifying the disease occurrence at an early stage. So where were we? We first carried out a systematic review. We adopted this 4-stage approach for developing sensors, which is stage 1, sensor technique, which is validating single sensors, and stage 2, data interpretation, which is to interpret single sensor to measure animals, and stage 3, information integration, which is to combine different data from sensor and non-sensor data for forming a decision support model. And stage 4 is to have a automated decision support tool to give alert or advice whether yes or no of treating animals, for example. So we categorized the papers we found into these levels, and what we found was most studies were at the stage 1 and 2, a few at the stage 3, and we didn't find any at the stage 4. So we should focus more on stage 3 and 4 to develop the automated decision support tool. So with this in mind, we started our studies to testing different sensors. The first one we used was the accelerometers. This is for the early health monitoring. So we put the accelerometers on one of the front legs of the calves, so the individual calves. So we put so this batch you see in the photo is around 230 to 240 animals. So this allows us to measure each one of them, their activities, including the lying time, walking time, standing time, the stat counts, and the lying bows 24/7 for a long time, longer than their lifetime. So we have a lot of questions. Here I'm showing you the first question, the very basic question of investigate the group pattern for healthy calves. For this purpose, we use a model called generalized addictive model. These are not important, the technical details. But what we found is it is possible to draw the activity patterns for the healthy animals. We use what we call features, different features to describe the pattern, the activity patterns, and we achieve this medium accuracy. So not very high, not very low, is medium. And the next step, so this is still ongoing project. We are identifying the factors leads to the individual differences between the calves. Then we want to develop models to detect the deviations which deviate from the normal patterns, which might indicate the health issues for the veal calves. So this is the first example. And the second case is the 3D cameras. So for the veal fattening, it's important to keep them healthy, and it's also important to make sure they grow well, to have a nice growth curve. But it's difficult to measure their body weight regularly because we need to have the skill to measure them is time consuming and it's not convenient. That's why we have this idea to use the 3D cameras for this purpose. So here in the picture, we put the 3D cameras above the automatic milk feeders. So when the calf visit the milk feeders to drink milk, the camera take a photo from the above, then to capture their body size, the body height, body length, and body width. So from these the features, we predict the body weight using machine learning models to train the data. Here I will skip technical part. What we found is we can estimate body weight using the images with very low error for most models, but we are not able to estimate the growth curve because of the gold standard for the validation. We didn't have enough data points. So this is still ongoing. We are still trying to improve the accuracy for the growth curve estimation. So these are the two cases I show, and then if we continue to improve the accuracy of the models, and then to integrate the relevant indicators to form a decision support model. So are we solving the problem? if we talk about reduce the antibiotic use for the veal calf industry, probably yes, because by capturing this time window, we can identify the sickness or the individual calves, which show the deviations in terms of the activity patterns or the growth curve patterns. Then we can check the individual calves and give individual treatments. So in that regard, we will reduce the antibiotic use for the veal industry. But what we want to ask is, are we asking the right questions? So is the question detecting diseases at an early stage, or should we focus more on preventing the disease occurrence in the first place? So here, that's also what Alex talks about for the development of such technologies. Because what we found is they didn't include animals in this process. Because if we think of all these solutions, so we could identify the sickness at an early stage, but the reality is the animals are still get sick. So the situations, the housing systems, they still live in the same system. So for that, we didn't change the situation. What we do was to increase or improve the animal health, and then therefore to improve the animal welfare. But there are also other approaches, such as managing animal welfare as a prerequisite for animal health. So which one should we go first? And a brief reflection. Should we focus on our research effort on detecting problematic issues in existing production systems, meaning improving the current system with technical solutions, or on modifying these systems towards minimizing risks or preventing issues arising in the first place? We want to argue that by adding more sensors to the current systems, we have the risk of making the current system, the rearing system, more intensive. And then we cover up the problem instead of trying to solve it, and making it more difficult to talk about the potential change of the system. And precision livestock farming should be as a tool to help us, not as a goal. And with this, I think I have 1 minute. And yeah, I think I would like to end here, but what we are missing is the systems thinking. So here are some writers, I think we have very good big picture with different theory to discuss the issues, the sustainability, and also the environment, and on technology on a more broader term, which I think might be inspirational for many of us. And with this, I would like to finish my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sun. Great talk and really a lot of food for thought. And there are questions coming in now in the chat, but I would like to just have you, both of you, to think about ethics and how you get support in your projects for decision making in those dilemmas that you were both thinking about. So if we have time at the end, perhaps you could mention something about ethics and how you get support around the decisions that are sometimes really difficult. But I will first read the question from Dorothea, and it's to you, Sun. To what extent do you think farmers are receptive to implementing digital tools, for example, 3D cameras, instead of continuing using antibiotics to treat diseases?
Thank you for the question. These are also the questions we are talking within ourselves and also with farmers. For the farmers we have been working with, they are very open to the technologies, and So they also want to make sure that animals have a good life. But if we talk about business, that's tough. And was say they didn't have much options, even as technical solutions. Is they are asked to have the solution as a package deal. If they want to buy this machine, they need to have all the others. So I'm not sure if it's really helping them, but they are open. So it depends on the developers to think for them, because so far I don't think they are really involved.
This is really interesting, and I think that we can actually ask the same question to you, Alex, and your thoughts about the end users. And I was thinking also about the individual variation in the animals. There's of course a big individual variation in the farmers. Alex, would you like to expand on how you think about these things?
I mean, the need or the will of farmers to use anything, it comes from the calculated added value. The PLF as a tool to complement something on a farm, only as good or the will to use it comes from a reliability. If farmers know that it actually works to begin with, and then just by detecting animals or detecting them earlier, sometimes doesn't exclude the fact that they will need to be treated anyway. It's just like sometimes the order of things might change. But the price, in the end of the day, it's the biggest issue. When it comes to technology, farmers needs to see economical benefits. So sometimes they could make, if you understand what drives a farmer as a person, you might justify the higher integrational cost because it brings a nice changes to their lifestyle. And this is a soft value, or the human welfare or work environment in this. So it's extremely complex, but there are some suggestions on how to integrate these thoughts into the developmental process. Before I forget, me and Jenny Sigvard actually wrote a book chapter on that, developing the ethical framework for PLF to be integrated on a farm level, if it should be animal centered. So we'll stop there. I see.
Maybe you can link to the book chapter reference in the chat or in the Q&A.
Yes,
I get from my technical support, it doesn't seem like I can unmute you, so please put your questions in the Q&A function in the panel below or at the bottom of the screen. There's a question from Diana. It doesn't say who to, so maybe it's for both of you. What do you think about financing for both developing and put these solutions into the market and then purchase power or capacity from farmers? Do you think CAP support is covering this solution enough?
Wonderful question. No, it does. The short answer, no, it does not. And sometimes that sense on the European level, when you talk to politicians in Brussels, the whole saying of how to integrate AI into digital farming is close to non-existent. We don't see any livestock or agriculture related branches of the, say, European AI Act as such. And then how we then could talk about the local regulations with AKIS or CAP if it's not, in the point of focal interest for politicians. So it's a long way to go, I would say.
Sun, would you also like to develop on this question from Diana?
I'm not sure I'm answering the question, but I would like to say that there's the difference between developing technologies and deploying technologies. For the developing part, there is no restriction, but for the deployment, there should be, but there is not. So this is something that really should be done, and it has been like really been trying by many people. So I think with the regulations, so then it should restrict a bit of the deployment, not the developing. So
good. Now we have the the reference for the chapter in the chat as well. And there's a question from Tatiana. I assume the economic consideration is still under future investigation, but just some first thoughts. Can we calculate the distress of putting sensors to animals? And I'm sure you have a good answer to that. Can we calculate the cost of sensors versus benefits for farmers? Can we calculate if technology applied would increase the price of veal for consumers, or would it help to prevent reduced losses or expenses linked to sickness and treatments? Thanks. And I'm sure soon you have a really good answer to this.
I follow the first two questions, then I need to ask you for the third one. So
I think
first,
if you can open the questions, I think for this.
Yeah, I don't see the question. I don't see the question.
I think,
okay, I'm sorry.
Maybe you have it.
But we can start with
yeah.
Can you calculate the distress of putting sensors on animals?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I now see the question. Yes.
Oh, super.
Can we calculate the distress? Yes, we can, and we try to not distress animals. So for the sensors we use, we try to use very small ones. So for the ones we are using, that's the prototype, which is not very handy. But the animals also adapted very fast after 2 days of really feeling very annoying. So they just accepted it. So they can get used to the sensors. But in the first place, we try not to distress them too much. So this is already in the stage of developing sensors. And the second one is, can we calculate the cost of sensors and benefits for them? Yes, this is very important. Say for the sensors we use, we have for the accelerometers is cost is 80 euros per sensor, and we also have a bit more expensive sensors. The prototype is 500 euros per sensor. So then it's easy for us to choose because and the price, and also for how long can we use it. If it's for 6 to 8 years, or can we use it only in a short time? So this is very important for the farmers. And the benefit for the farmers, the benefits mostly, I think, is the automated monitoring. So they don't need to do much work, only need to check the screen. Then they can go to the animals more targeted. It doesn't mean that they lose the connection or interaction with animals. It just gives them more efficiency because they need to run multiple tasks. And the third, can we calculate if the technology applied would increase the price of veal for consumer? The technology, so the idea is it should increase the efficiency and production and lower the cost. So not the other way. But if it does increase the cost, then it means this technology is not successful. So yeah, so should be reduce the price, or at least reduce the cost for the farmers, so that the consumers will still pay the same. Would it help to prevent and reduce losses or expenses linked to sickness and treatment? Would it help to prevent? And this is very.
Yeah, I think that is the whole point. It should. The aim of both the technologies is to reduce or prevent losses due to disease. Can I sort of stick in another question in between here before we go back to Diana's question about economics? And this is a question to both of you. And I was wondering whether you're working anything with positive welfare indicators and sensors and technology. Because now, I mean, we've talked about disease and a little bit about lameness or whatever, and fever and other things that are sort of on the negative side of animal welfare. But Can we use technology and measure happiness in animals?
Alex, or I start? Yeah, okay, I
Yeah, you
start.
can start.
I think we're both in the lift project on the work group 3. So for the work with the lift project, lifting the animal, the fundamental of animal welfare, for the positive animal welfare. So we do work on this but it's still very new, and so far we have. So first is to have the different definition of positive animal welfare. Then we can select the indicators. And what in our group, what we have been doing was to select the indicators that can be measured by precision livestock farming tools. So it is possible. So yeah, and we are doing it.
Sounds great. Look forward to hearing more about it. Alex, you want to add something on the positive side?
If you can measure negative, you can measure the positive as well. It comes from a definition. I mean, if you, as an ethologist or veterinarian or whoever, can come up with a plausible definition of what positive animal welfare is, then the technology can measure it. Then the thing that looks back to the price of development, the need of development, is something entirely different. And how it affects consumers and communicates in the right way. So technology allows it. I just think that the careful definition needs to be also, if people talk about normality or the positive affective states or whatever, you need to also include at least the thought about that the positive farm welfare or positive farm behavior or natural behavior will be slightly different from positive natural or evolutionary stilled behavior or welfare. And we should not probably mix those wildly and unresponsibly. I would probably stop there, I would say.
I think that's a really good and well thought through answer. Let's go to Diana's question about economy. And if farmers respond to economic value, which they of course do, they have to do that. How can we improve the communication about the economics of better health and welfare, measured, I guess, through technology? Have you thought anything? Are you collaborating with communicators, or have you got strategies around this?
The question is, yeah, when it comes to economy, are people willing to price? It's also a bit about what Tatiana asked. Who should pay for that in the end of the day? Consumers can express the third part is that consumers can talk all they want about the animal welfare, but if they're not paying for that, it doesn't matter what farmers do. And there are many different ways with PLF. You don't need to sell the technology as such, which will not mean then high investment costs for farmers. You can sell a server, so you could sell the value, but then the society need to actually, sorry, it's going to sound very cynical, but then society needs to stop being hypocrites and actually pay for what they demand. And only then, when the farmers feel the economical security, this change could happen. So it's not about farmers or animals right now, it's about people actually following through on the higher demand for animal welfare and supporting with action and money. Because when you ask them, do you pay for the meat, for example, or luxury products coming from animal production, and they say yes, but then they go for the cheapest alternative, then there is end of discussion. Not a technology in the world can change that. So that is communicated through meetings with different stakeholders, but also meetings with polarizing camps like animal rights activists, PETA, whatever, where this should happen on a consensus basis, in some way civilized, not just pointing fingers at, yeah, you're doing it wrong. Yeah.
Good. Sun, do you want to add something there about communication, economy, and who's going to pay?
I think the communication comes from the transparency of from both sides. If the consumers know more of the farming, then potentially they would like to pay based on their well-informed information. So the transparency, I think, should be important for the communication. And what is else? The education, I think, because for the consumers, so people who ask these questions, they should already know something. So that's why they want to ask. So it's also important for the society. So we are, as the society, to communicate with the consumers. So in the Netherlands, there's in many ways the newspapers are very active with sharing all the animal welfare related topics, and then to engage more consumers in the discussion to let them more informed, I think. So transparency, I think.
Thank you. I think that also in pathways with our farmer groups, transparency is something that's been lifted as a really important key in reaching sustainability in the livestock production. I want to highlight from Adam that he liked your presentations and that AI will not take all the work away from farmers, but it will be helpful. And then Diana's modified her question a bit. If the technologies will make farmers stop wasting money, reducing costs, that is, in the long term, how can we show them that? Which data to use, or how to calculate how much farmers will save? Who wants to give a go?
Maybe now I think I understood it from the beginning, Diana. But the problem is that as animals are being individuals, the same applies to farm. Each farm is unique, so waste of money or time is very context based. I think by proving that technology actually works, that the farmers can rely on a solution which is not perfect, and by validating the concepts through research, we can gradually increase the trust towards the technology. But then in the end of the day, the use of PLF or not, it's not what makes a good farm a good farm. It could be top-notch, high-tech, newly built something, but it still have a terrible views or values, and vice versa. It could be old, absolutely, old school, everything done by, manpower, and it will be the best production, welfare, health, and whatnot you will see. So it's more about the education of there is no good answer still. After so many years working with it, I still cannot answer what data stream is the best or how to motivate. It's still very context based. It's just start from equality and start from addressing the need of each specific end user for now.
Soon, do you want to add something there?
So yeah, within science, we try to solve problems with scientific solutions. A few years ago, we were thinking of this to show the farmers that they can save money. We want to show that the difference of applying technologies and without applying technologies. So we have a control group and then non-control group. But it didn't work in the end because it's too expensive to run the experiment, and the farmers won't accept it, the failure, the potential failure. So it's difficult to in practice in our case. But what I want to say is the technologies are designed to solve specific problems, and we validate the technology. We don't validate the whole scenario to make sure that they can solve the issue. It depends, I think, in the end on the farmers to how they want to incorporate the technology into their routine. So if that can improve their efficiency and make them, say, give them more free time to spend with their children and family, I think that's a good situation. And then if they can use the technologies to find some find some problems that they couldn't figure out or make it easier, I think that's a good way to show that it can stop wasting money. So, but the sensor should be not too shouldn't be too expensive. So.
Really good answers, wrapping up how technology fits into the concept of one welfare and can help us a little bit along the way. And of course, it's really necessary in our way towards sustainability. And I would like to really warmly thank you both for your presentations and this really interesting discussion. And hope you have a good lunch if it's lunchtime where you are, and hope a good rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.